This is NBC Palm Springs.
Sandy Steers is back. It's so good to see you.
Thank you.
We are so happy to have you with us.
Morning.
We have so many questions, and I think since the last time you were here, so much has happened in the nest. And of course, the most important one is that Cookie died.
Yes.
What is the explanation, do you think, is the reason why that happened?
Because of hypothermia, basically, because the chicks get to a certain point that they're too big to fit under the parents, and at the same time we had a really bad rain and wind and snowstorm and freezing temperatures. So when they get damp, they're not grown enough to have full weatherproof feathering. Mm-hmm. And so when they get damp, they kind of get chilled and can't get warm again.
Do you think because Simba was the stronger bird, he kind of maybe nudged Cookie out a little?
I didn't see any of that, because actually Cookie was more under Jackie that night than Simba was, but Cookie was younger and so had less weatherproofing than Simba did.
We're seeing it right now. We just saw a video from that storm.
Yeah.
This obviously when they were still alive and healthy.
Yeah.
Cookie just being birds.
Yeah.
It really is kind of interesting is after Cookie died, it's still left in the nest. Why does that happen?
That's just the way they do it. I mean, every once in a while they will toss it over, but that's rare.
They have moved it around.
They have moved
and
it
picked
around.
at it and pulled off some feathers. And
Yeah, at this point it's just kind of being treated like they would treat the carcass of another animal that they had eaten or something like that.
Do they have any feelings? Is there any type of mourning process? Because we noticed Jackie was away from the nest for a little bit longer than she usually is.
Yeah. I don't know that they have feelings.
Who would know?
Can tell?
Yeah.
But at the same time, I watched Jackie. That day, a few times she would just stand and stare at it and kind of touch it with her beak, like she was waiting for it to wake up, and it just didn't.
So you wonder, because one has died, does Simba realize that, his brother has died? Something has changed?
It depends on which way you talk about it. I mean, from the scientific perspective, they say absolutely not. From, an energy perspective, it feels like they're different, like they've changed and they notice something.
That they sense something?
Yes.
Is everything they do pretty much just on instinct and not reason?
From science perspective, they say yes. From my perspective, I say no.
Yeah. I mean, there is a point.
I've watched too long to think it's just instinct.
I mean, isn't there a part of us that kind of all want it to? We want them to be human-like.
Right.
Yeah.
We have so many more questions. We're going to get into all this with you. You're sticking around for the rest of the morning.
Okay.
We'll be right back.
So good to see you.
You got my questions about the Eagles, right?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
All right, we are back with our favorite Eagle Eyes, Sandy Steers, with the Friends of Big Bear Valley.
Yes.
How long have you been with that organization?
Over 18 years.
Have you? Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Well, they are doing terrific work. You're responsible for the camera that we've been watching and the world has been watching.
Right back there.
Yeah. We are grateful for that.
They're eating now. But what we were addressing a little earlier this morning when you appeared, for those viewers that missed it, we were talking about Cookie, the eaglet that died.
Yes.
Can you just reiterate how that happened?
We don't know for sure, but it was likely hypothermia because at that size, he was just 6 weeks old, and at that size they're too big to fit under the parents, but they don't have their full weatherproof feathers yet. So
and this
with
is the storm that happened just before.
Yes.
He died.
Yeah, and so with that all the storm, he just got too chilled and couldn't recover.
So soon, it looks as though Simba is going to be ready to fly.
Yes.
And in about how long will that be?
3 to 5 weeks.
Okay. Who teaches him to fly? I mean, do you do it by instinct?
Apparently, what you will see him do over the next few weeks is more and more he'll be flapping and until he can jump, and he'll start jumping up in the nest. And last year, though, the chick got a little too full of himself about doing that, and he jumped up and fell off the nest.
Oh no,
before.
that's what we were worried about.
Oh.
Yeah, so he was okay. We found him, and he was okay, and eventually he flew back into the nest, but it was over a week later.
Right?
There are no
Yeah.
trial runs.
There-
No,
no
no, and
trial
it
runs.
seems like he's getting more daring and kind of venturing
Yes,
out
and
to the perimeter of
Yeah,
the rim.
and then he'll venture out onto a limb.
Okay, he
and
will.
then- yes, and then eventually he'll just kind of jump off.
Okay.
Okay.
And,
not be pushed off.
No,
No.
no.
Nobody wants to be pushed
Mom
off.
might, sometimes moms push them off.
Well, we're not pushing them out of the nest. But so I know that Jerry wanted to know about, the
coloring.
the color. When does that change?
Not till they're, it starts changing when they're about 3 years old, but then at 5 years old is when they get their full coloration of white head and white tail. That's why Shadow still has the dark markings, is he's just 5.
Oh,
Wow.
okay, so he's pretty young.
Yeah, and so the first 5 years you can actually tell how old they are by the coloration of their feathers.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Now we're seeing them eat fish for breakfast.
Yes.
Is it true they eat worms too, or no?
Not, well, I mean,
That's just
not
in
that
the
I'm
stories?
aware of,
Yeah.
but they mostly eat fish
Just
and ducks.
fish.
Yeah.
After he takes off from the nest, do they ever reunite? I mean, will Shadow, will Jackie, will Simba ever reunite, or they just go their separate
They
ways?
go their separate ways. After, well, for a little while, Simba will come back to the nest probably. That's what Stormy did last year, and and visit and be there, and then fly away and then come back. But after a few weeks, when he leaves the area, which they mostly do, then he's an adult eagle and considered competition. So no, they don't welcome
really?
him back.
He's on his
Boy,
own.
I know.
Yes.
All the children always want to go someplace else.
Born
The
free.
nest is always greener, I guess. Will you come back in 3 to 4 or 5 weeks?
Sure.
Yay! We love having
here.
you.
All right.
We get all of our questions
Yeah,
answered.
I tell you, we love it. Thank you. We're going to take a break and we'll be right back.